everyone! Welcome to the Table Talk Show. It is lovely to see all of my duckies and dice fiends here today. I hope you are doing well and that you are taking as good a care of yourself as you are able to in these circumstances, in the world in which we find ourselves. So, welcome. I am Kay. I am one of your co-hosts, but I'm not the only one here. So, Candace, who the heck is you and what the heck is we doing here?
Hello, I'm Candace, also known as Candace the Magnificent. My pronouns are they, she, and I am here doing this right now. I am also a TTRPG performer, voice actor, writer, and a bunch of other shit. So thank you for being here. I'm so excited.
We are so excited. Yes, welcome in House of Dreams. And this is the Table Talk Show, where every Tuesday we talk all things TTRPGs, from indies to intersectionality, and focus on, oh, hello, Starless Solid. Welcome in. It's good to see you.
Hello.
Goodness. So we do this here every Tuesday. You can come find us doing this with the amazing Candace, who has stepped in for David, who we are wishing all of the love and all of the quick recoveries. Hello, Ilaria. How you doing? You can find me this Friday over at Entropy Emporium doing the Weird Wilds War, where I play Brandon, the himbo Drake Warden Ranger. And yes, I said what Candace asked last time in the chat.
Did you?
In that chat, and broke everyone.
Yay!
Yes. Yes, the dragon does match the drapes.
Perfect.
We're both green.
I love that. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
And I'm sorry. I am working so hard to get back onto a regular streaming schedule, but I got to figure out what to stream. I got to figure out, like, it's just, you know, it's a lot. And right now it's a time. So, you know, apologies. We will get there. I swear to whatever gods are worth swearing to at this point in time. I don't know. Yes, missing David, but we get a Candace. And, you know, that's a perk right there. So, today, now look, we've all been on D&D Talk, right? We've all been on D&D YouTube. We all know that there is an excess of this is how to be a good GM videos and tips and tutorials, and we're guilty of it too. We spend a lot of time talking about how to be a good GM. And we have talked about this a little bit before, but not with Candace, and it always bears witness is not the right. It's always good to circle back to really important topics like this. So let's talk about how to be a good player.
I'm very passionate about that.
Yeah, same. You know, how can you be the kind of player that everyone wants at the table? How can you be the kind of player that has all of the hooks and backstories and ends with all the other players? How are you the person that makes the GM's job not just easier, but more fun and exciting?
Mm-hmm.
I have no excuses. I only listen to you. Okay, well, that's fair. Hey, DC, welcome on in.
Hi, DC.
The game you were playing earlier today was beautiful. I don't know if it's new or not. I was, again, working and lurking, but it was gorgeous to see. I don't know how new it is. Ender. Haha. It's Ender McGill. It's on the thing that says what DC was last playing. So, we are going to start. We're going to talk about, there are different things that Candace and I do. And in fact, there are different things that I do for different games, different systems, different feels of things. So there's not necessarily one size fits all, but there's lots of consistent themes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about what we do. We're going to talk about, both as a player, what we enjoy doing, and as GMs, the kind of player we love to get. I want to talk about, as a player, working with other players and getting all those juicy backstories and juicy ideas. And we would love for you as well, as we start going, throw out your tips, talk about things that you have done or you have experienced or things you want to do. Because, yeah, we are the experts in that we're the ones on here on camera. And yeah, we put in a lot of hours into streaming TTRPG games. But also, everyone in the community is an expert. Everyone is doing this. So, hey, Jason, welcome in. So yes, don't be afraid to share your tips, share your tricks, share your experiences. And Candace, do you want to kick it off, or do you want me to talk more?
I can kick it off. I something that I really love to do in games is choose last when it's time for me to pick my character, because I really, really enjoy being a support player, especially if it's a game that I've already played before, right? If we're playing Thirsty Sword Lesbians and at least one person has never played TSL before, I'm not choosing first, right? That player is going to choose first, and you decide what you want, because if I have to be the beast for the 40th time, that's fine. But if you want to be the beast, then maybe today is the day I'm the Hollow Goddess, right? Like, let's fly, right? So I feel like if you are a more experienced player, like I don't mean to veer away from the beginners or anything, but if you are a more experienced player and you're looking for a way to plus up how you approach your table, that's both something that's going to be great for you and your own like personal performance skills, because you're going to be challenged to kind of think outside the box each time, or to revisit a character that you might have played in a different game and then really, really hammer in on who that person is so you can take that character more places. But also, it gives your DM or your GM a chance to kind of catch their breath a little bit and focus on that beginner player, because you're showing that you already can handle that, right? Like you're like, oh, don't worry about me. I love doing that.
Yes, I just had something very similar, but from the other side in that, okay, long story. I applied to a whole bunch of games because stuff happened and I can't GM right now. I'm just not in a headspace where I can build a new adventure. And I got a message that I had been accepted into one of them, but the casting form was gone. The everything about what I had applied to was gone, and they hadn't sent me a copy to my email, right? So I'm like, but I know the channel, right? So I go to the channel, and they were doing a bunch of streams for the California wildfires charity games, and I'm like, that makes sense. I would have, but it was a masks game. And I'm like, I'm not super into masks. Did I enter some kind of fugue state and just for the fires, right? Did I just, and I'm like, okay, no, I can do this, right? Okay. Because I was in the headspace then, especially, I was like, okay, I can be, because it was supposed to be a paranormal hunter kind of thing. And I was like, if I can be the normie, I can bring in Brandon, because the normie gets a van and I could just be the normie with the video camera who has no idea what's going on.
Yes.
And I'm looking at all the other playbooks and I'm like, I really hope no one else wants the normie, because I really don't know what else I'm going to do in this setting.
Pretty much no one ever chooses the normie. I have never been in a single mask game or run a single mask game with a normal character. Zero times.
That is the only one 5. I could think to play in this setting. But for what it's worth, y'all, it turned out I hadn't applied to that. They had a mini series that I had applied to. But I was
Thank
no,
God.
For charity, I will play.
We're ready
to
go though.
For
That's
charity,
good.
Right? I can a one shot. I can do just about anything.
Yeah.
I do say just about. Just about.
You want to do Battle Lords?
Look, all I'm saying is I need a TTRPG. I don't care if it's powered by the Apocalypse pack. I need a TTRPG for Dick Fight Island. I just do. I just do. I got to introduce a friend to that last night. They'd never seen it. And I'm like, no, my dude, you need to see this.
Yeah.
This would be the weirdest, messiest, juiciest fight, enemies to lovers thing ever.
Yeah, that sounds tasty. I would play that. I feel like pushing boundaries like that is fantastic. So something that I will also shout out as something to do to kind of plus up or level up your encounters in game. And a lot of this advice that we've both given so far is very much advice that has a twofold, right? It's good for you as a player to practice and to get used to, but it's also good for your table and other players and your GM. And that's really what you want to do. To me, this is a collaborative sport. It's a team sport.
Exactly.
Whenever I get into a game and somebody wants to win, I'm immediately like, uh-oh.
Well,
oh no, what are we gonna do here?
We're gonna point no fingers and we're gonna say no names, right? But you and I were also at a table where clearly one player was the star.
Yes.
Both in the player's mind and the GM's mind.
Yes.
And we were like, that's what this is, okay?
Yes.
And that is, again, not a team sport. That is not collaborative, right? It's feels
Bogarting.
Yes, it feels very different.
Yeah. When you're in that situation, I feel like finding ways to maneuver. Sometimes you have to maneuver for other players. Like Kay and I were being horribly ignored, and so was the third player. And so the two of us just took turns setting up the other person and then setting up the third player.
Real quick, I want to let you get back to that because you were not done, but I want to read off.
Yeah.
Starless Solid says, taking notes, holy cats. I am the note taker for my home game, and I am
Me
a
too.
hero to the point where one day we had a 6-hour session.
Oh my
and
God.
I took 30 some odd pages of notes from that session.
Holy shit.
And the GM gave me like a void point for it, which is like you could use a void point to change almost anything about the set, like truth in this game. It was just like yours. And so then people started coming to me and being like, okay, help me remember. Starless Sun also says I can do basic tech at the same time. If you can help
So
run tech,
helpful.
if you can
Holy
help
shit.
do go live, if you can remember the checklist, the go live checklist,
That's a game changer.
you're a hero, right? Like
Yep.
seriously.
Yep.
If you can even be, if it's a series and you can be trusted to do the we're going live tweets, because who always forgets going live tweets when they're a player,
I feel that.
right? So those are amazing.
Yeah.
Starless says, I also do art of your character if I play with you, which look,
Oh,
Candace will tell you, anytime we get art for
Mhm,
anything
it's very
chaotic
special.
wholesome, I lose my mind. David loses. I have an
Yes.
entire folder. We have a section on the website of just art because I want to just share stories, not have backstories, even if it's I owe you $10. Yes. Yes. Sorry, Candace. Go. We were saying
Well, I want to tangent now off on
Okay.
this on what Starless said about artwork.
Mhm.
So, from a GM perspective, there is nothing better than someone appreciating your art. As a player, a few weeks ago, somebody live tweeted watching something that I did called A Haunting Beloved. It's a Bluebeard's. It's an all disabled POC majority Bluebeard's Bride game put on by Dungeon Minister. And we won some Rainbow Roll Fest awards, and I think we've been shortlisted for the Cusco Awards and stuff like that. It's going through some circuits right now. Thank you. Very proud of it. It's really, really beautiful. And so somebody live tweeted, like on Blue Sky, like live tweeted watching it and tagged us. And so all of us like were in the server, like freaking out that this person was like watching our stuff. And then all of us were on Blue Sky, like, hey, oh my God, I can't believe you picked up on that. Ooh, you know, it was like really cute. So as a player, I've had that. And it was like drugs. Like,
Yes.
who needs drugs when you have positive feedback? However, as the GM, that hits really fucking different. I've never had that before. I know I've seen y'all get excited about that kind of thing, and it's been really lovely. Like when you saw the picture of the bow that Jason got me, like I know that was like, you know, that was a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I am running a game right now that is coming in the next probably 3 to 6 months. My 80s fantasy game that I've been just doing little teasy sprinkles of.
Hey Tom, how are you doing?
Two of my players actually, have now done fan art of each other. One of my players, like his character is a bookworm, and like he's really, really smart, and he knows a lot about fantasy worlds, and he's supposed to be like the normie character, right? He's the mundane, like he's the Quentin Coldwater, right, of the group, if you like the magicians. And he spends a lot of time writing down his observations about this new world he's in, because it's an isekai. And he made in Canva an actual presentation that looks like a book, and then hand illustrated everybody's faces on the write-up page of them, so it looks like really
That's amazing.
I cried, y'all. I cried.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting on my couch, ugly crying into my phone, looking at this beautiful masterpiece that someone has made. And like, we haven't even finished yet. Like the finale is on the 20th. Like we haven't even finished. Like this is like episode 2 he made this. And I was like, you like it that much? Like, you are doing the right thing, Starless. Everybody else take a page.
Yes.
Okay? Because hot dog. If you, I mean, even so much as a fucking, a pick crew, you go through the moment to make a pick crew. I'm toast. I'm done.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
DC, which is and you should please go check out DC Lacer's website. DC has a handy dandy checklist for production. And Starless Solid said, I made separate checklists for video game go live and for 2 channels I tech for. Those are all wonderful. You
Yes.
have to remember to check the checklist. That's my problem. But no, can confirm when we ran Godplane, this one, wait, is this correct? Yes. This one did a parody song on TikTok, because we still like TikTok back then. And like, y'all, it was flails, it was feels, it was cries. It was just like, oh my goodness, what the heck? And then,
Can I tell you a secret?
your secret.
I might be working on something else. That's all I can say. I think
Then-
that you and David think I forgot about it, but I didn't, and I'm working on it.
And then y'all. So when we did Godplane, I did symbols for everyone. Like, this is the symbol that represents your character in the Godplane, the tattoos. And like, I had one of my players reached out and was like, do you have that design in a larger format? Because I kind of want to get it tattooed. And I'm like, what the?
So that's still happening. I had that conversation 3 days ago.
Bananas. And then, y'all, how long ago was Godplane now? 2 years? 3 years?
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It has.
Piper shows up at PAX Unplugged and crocheted David and I matching penguins because we threw sandguins at them. So he sits behind me. Like,
Oh my
this
goodness.
fan art. And I know, like Candace was saying, like, I can't really draw, but I can find a peak crew, right? That means so much. I made in our home game, which I've showed off this conspiracy board several times. Like, I realized at one point, oh, this is actually, because I'm used to a lot of games, especially stream games, where it's like you follow the plot, and that's cool, and I'm there to do that. But it became clear after a certain point that this isn't just follow the plot. This is, you have to figure stuff out to be successful. And I'm like, oh, I can hyper focus. There's stuff to figure out. And I made a physical conspiracy board and shared it with the group. And my GM is just like,
Hey.
Huh?
Stop sharing secrets with the group.
the number of times this man has looked at me with like, I am so impressed, but I'm even more annoyed that you
I'm
figured that shit out
furious.
before you were supposed to.
I love being that player, though.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good. Honestly,
I
yet another
figured-
one.
I
Bottle
figured
it.
out-
Sell it.
Yes, I figured out one of the secrets about his world, one of the like things. And I figured it out and explained it to his NPC in character in game and made that NPC have like an emotional breakdown because it meant so much of what that NPC had been doing was actually bad and not good because of this reveal, and made his NPC have a breakdown in game with his own secret that he hadn't figured out I'd figured out.
Yeah.
So that's like my next tip of how to be a good player is be involved,
Yes.
be engaged, get involved. Be it with the plot, with your GM, with other players. Get up in there, get nitty gritty with it. Ask the question, because I'm sure they exist. I'm sure there is a GM out there who gets annoyed by people asking about plot and asking about their world.
I've met them.
I
It's
don't
rough.
play with them.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No.
It's the worst.
No. But, and most, I'm going to say most GMs, and then I'm also going to put this in brackets because, again, hashtag not all GMs. I'm sure there are exceptions. But good GMs can't wait to share their lore and their world and their secrets and all that. And they want to answer the questions or at least know that you're engaged, you know?
Yep.
Hey, Ty, how are you doing?
Hi.
So, yeah, get up in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna quadruple down on that. So this thing that I'm writing, it's the most I've ever written for anything I've ever done that I've run. The full campaign that I ran was like a doctored version of a module, and I've run a shit ton of fucking one shots, and then I ran a 3-shot, and that's like the longest I've ever gone. So this is 5 episodes, but next season, if people like it, is going to be like 10 episodes, right? It's going to be like a double order. And like, I started with like a sprinkle of idea, And then I had 3 pages. And then I had 5 pages. And then I had 7 pages. And I was like, uh-oh.
I'm in this photo and I did not approve.
Oh God. So like having a player that wants to unravel all that bullshit, especially because like if you have very lively and interested and RP heavy players, you're probably not going to get through fucking half of that, man. Like I've written whole ass encounters that nobody even bothered checking out. Like I dropped a fucking clue and I was like, here's a clue. And they were like, you know what? Let's just go straight to the funhouse. And I was like, no, that's not supposed to happen till next session. I guess we're going to the funhouse. I guess we're just going to go. Like horrible time. I did it, but it was horrible. I was so nervous, but like they were so pumped and they were so jazzed to like kill this fucking killer clown. And I was like, all right, I mean, I guess we'll just go fucking take this guy out, right? Like they were so excited. And you have to be a fan of your players as a GM. So having people that like really, really care and really, really like engage, like, I can't echo that enough. Honestly, I feel like what I'm hearing, and like we should still keep going because I feel like it's hard sometimes for people to find their thing. But the overarching theme of this episode is how to be the best player. Find your thing.
Yeah.
If there's something that you like are slamming at, find your thing and offer to do that thing. Right? Like that's the vibe. Like that's the energy. I just had a conversation about cosplay the other day and what my process is like. And what would you tell somebody who wants to cosplay for their who feels like they need to cosplay for their TTRPG games? And I was like, I would tell that person, don't do it unless it calls to you. Like if you don't need that or you don't like that, doing it is going to make you resent it, right? Like it's not going to be fun. For me, it's like putting on the costume, right? For me, it's
you're
getting into
character. Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's very much like an element of that. But if that's not your process, that's okay. You might just be as good of a role player as anybody else. You just have a different way in. Yeah. So like finding your thing and doing that well, like to me, that is the key. And I want
to lean into that because again, you can be an incredible player and not be the best role player. You can be an incredible player and not be in cosplay. A home game that I'm in, and David has told this story a couple times, but I want to make sure I kind of echo that because something you said is really important, which is find your thing and do it. And the thing about find your thing is there's a player in a home game that I'm in with who kind of sits back, is usually camera off, is very quiet for most of the sessions, plays a sneaky sneak, so is apparently in another chat with David rolling things behind the scenes that we don't know about at all. Like we have no idea this other player's up to it. And if you didn't know, like I have literally in sessions and been like, hey, so-and-so, like, are you okay? And he's like, oh yeah, I had a great time. It was a wonderful session. I had a blast. But like did almost nothing in the main group, which is like, fine, didn't hold up, was not resentful. If that's you, and you have a GM and a table that works for, great. How do you, if you're not prepared to do all that, bring snacks. Be grateful to your GM. Hey, Ribbon, welcome on in. Like there is, now look, okay. I have played 4 in-person sessions of TTRPGs in my entire life. 4 total. So I'm not super versed in person, right? But I do know the value of snacks showing up.
Oh my God.
If you are the person who brings snacks, if you are financially able to do that, or you are like, I'm going to just bake, or I'm going to bring a fancy tea, or anything like that can mean so much. And again, GMs put in a lot of work. So be kind to your GM. Like, show that you're grateful. And it's amazing how if you really are great, I have a GM who, and I haven't played with him in person, makes dinner for everyone who comes over to play.
Aww.
Feeds everyone before the session.
That's beautiful.
And
that's actually a good time to like go over your notes and stuff too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like it's really great. Like this group has been together forever because they feel like family. And then they had a weekend where everyone got together and like they went to like old like antique shops, like, thrifty stores. And he found little bits and baubles and bought little character gifts for everyone. So like someone had just started playing a new character who had a locket, and he found not the exact, but a close enough locket and gave it to that player, right?
That's special.
And like I am used to being the GM who does that. Having a player who would turn around and do that, do something for a GM, like commissioning artwork, showing up with surprise things. Even at one point, my Chalice home game, the GM just messages me and is like, "You watch all these shorts. This is your character. This is Burton and Florence. Look at that," and sends me this Nigel and Marmalade thing, and it's a tiny wizard and an unimpressed horse dog. And it's like, yes, that is exactly the personalities and relationship of these two characters. And just out of nowhere, he's like, "These are your characters."
Huh.
And I'm like, Senpai noticed me. This is the GM. I also figured out all the shit in his game, right? Ahead of schedule. So it's like, he knows how invested I am.
Mm-hmm.
And in turn, he's turned around and been super invested in my character. Certainly don't get special treatment. My character got emotionally reamed last week in the best way. It's exactly what I wanted. Yeah, like, and also, like, player to player, don't just be interested in the game. Don't just be interested in the story. Be interested in the other players. Be interested in the other characters. Start going, hey, our characters are from the same town. Could they have known each other? Hey, my character, I have this unnamed NPC in my backstory who told my character this thing and made them really change their understanding of the world. You mentioned that your character has a brother who, like, sounds like this might be something he would have said. Could we tie these characters together somehow? The more you start doing that, the more you start getting these really juicy in-game moments and these moments when you get to reveal things even to the GM.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Those are like those little tasty bits.
Yes.
That, like, you need in a game.
Like,
I feel like if you are a GM and you want to know, like, the opposite of that for etiquette, try not to internalize when a player does or brings you something that isn't what you want. Like, doesn't jive with your setting, doesn't jive with what you're doing, right? Like, that happened to me recently where I really had to kind of slow down. Like, it's almost the opposite of the inverse of, like, what you were saying. Like, on the other end, you have to be a gracious GM, right? Just like players have to show gratitude for their GM, so should GMs show gratitude for their players, right? I've had players at the table tell me, "Hey, so that's a little close to lines and veils, to one of my lines. Is that okay if we, like, take that again?" Or, "Hey, I just want to let you know that was a little close to my line. However, I recognize that as an all trans table, what you did, I know what you mean, but if we could just maybe not revisit it," right? Like, I've had people tell me, "Hey, like, I need you to do something different," or, "Hey, like, I showed up and feel like I didn't get enough time in this session," or whatever, right? Like, be open. Try not to be defensive, right? We pour a lot of ourselves into this experience, and it takes a lot of time to DM, and it takes sometimes a lot of stress to DM, and a lot of DMs are also doing scheduling by themselves. They're, hosting by themselves. I've been in this situation as the player. This is not a story of a GM who is bad. He's the person who taught me how to GM, right? He's a wonderful person, very kind. He and his wife open up their home like once a Saturday for my old table, for that particular table. And of course, thankful, right? However, when a player shows you that they really care about your table and they really give a lot of fucks about your storyline and about what's happening with you in the story, and, like, their schedule changes or they have an emergency of some kind, right? If their circumstances change, having a conversation, right? Even if it's something basic, even if it's not like how much they physically show up, but how present they are sometimes, right? If someone's going through something, it's worth a conversation rather than trying to, like, deal with the problem. Like, I was removed from my home game because I wasn't making it enough of a priority. But at the time, I had to take whatever I could get as far as jobs were concerned, right? And there were a lot of times when I was called in to replace somebody in a paid game, right? Or a game that meant something to me and meant that I couldn't necessarily make every session. So because we were only playing once a month, it looked like I didn't care at all. And he kind of just assumed that I didn't care and was like, "Hey, I think that, like, you should probably resign from the game." And I was like, I was so shell shocked. I didn't know what to do. Like, I cried for, like, weeks about this. Like, I was really upset. Like, it really hurt me. And, like, it didn't just hurt me because he was like, "Hey, can you just, like, politely decline?" Right? Because, like, you just don't care like you used to. Like, I'm the note taker for that game. That's the same group that I DM'd the entire pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, I play tested the game that we're playing before it was released and then continued to play it after, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've been devoted. I've written songs because I'm a bard in that game. I have handwritten songs about my character. I've done recaps as songs. I did like a whole Witcher song with a recap. Like, I have been devoted to that game. It's just that right then and there, I just didn't have it. And because of the huge difference between what I was doing and what I was able to do at that moment, it just looked like I cared that much less. So I felt like I got punished for how much I cared before, because now I'm having a hard time and like you're not willing to work with me. And I think he realized that later. I had already moved on. I had already walked away from the table. Like I think he sat with it for a while, and like now we're like in a weird like, I still care about you. I care about you too, pal, kind of place. But like, it was a really horrible rejection, and I get it as a GM now, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had a player no call, no show once, and it was because I had an emergency. But like, at first, it was really hard to like. I was initially worried, but the longer it went on, the more I was like, "Uh-oh, have I just been bailed on?" Like, it's hard not to take it personal because you've put so much of yourself into it, right? Even if you like your players completely destroying your plot lines, right? My GM was like that. Like, he loved that I would figure things out because he knew I was the only person who was paying attention, right? He knew that like everybody else was sort of in it, but I was like really in it, right? And I think a lot of times he was playing to me. And that's why when I wasn't there, it was hard because nobody would get it, right? Because their person wasn't there telling them what to do. So like, I could understand why I would have been maybe like a drag on the team, right? Because when I'm not there, people aren't used to having to solve things for themselves. But like, it still went down in a way that made me feel like I had like overshared almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you have players that really, really care, like, know that if they're showing up for you, you've got to show up for them too. Because if you don't, like, that feels like a betrayal. Like, if someone had come to me and said, "Hey, I feel like you're really not devoting as much time to this game," I could have said, "I'm really having a hard time financially. This is why I haven't been to the game. Can I just go on hiatus? You guys can go on a mission without me, and you can call me back in 6 months." Right? There were other things that could have been done without having to like sever that connection, right? So try to meet your players where they are whenever you can.
And also, as a player, like, be open. Like, my home game, all the other players are in the UK, so it happens at weird times for me. And I was like, "Hey, y'all, here's the thing. If I get a new job, if things change, if I move to a time zone where we're even further apart, you know, this is going to be very difficult for me to make. And I will do everything that I can to show up, but like, real world, right? Real life." And number one, it was adorable. They were all very nice. They were like, "Well, we'll change the day if we need to." And I'm like, well, changing the day doesn't fix the time zone thing, right? You all have to have your weekends, so that doesn't actually fix it. But like, everyone was just super like, "No, we'll figure out a way to make it work if we can. And if we can't, you're welcome back anytime you can make it," right? And so having that communication definitely helps. Yeah, Starless Sala said, "As tech, 100% try to work with GMs and work out times and stick to those." Yeah. And like, that's one of the best things you can do is just if you have a Discord or wherever be active in that. Just, even if it's just, my favorite thing is just to go in and post the first like tomorrow or soon gif and then watch everyone else get excited, right? And it also tells the GM that like, "Ooh, I'm excited." I had a game, and hilariously, this one, it wasn't the players that did it, it was the GM, where we were in full cosplay. We would show up, we would be ready to go, and the GM would cancel the game either minutes before, or sometimes we would be in the green room for an hour and a half, and then he would cancel it an hour and a half after we'd been in there. I'm in character. I am, in costume, ready to go, and nothing. And that's tough. So be the to answer your question, Ty. Ty asked, "Do either of you use character relationship randomizers for session 0? It's a great tool." I generally don't, because I generally come in with a character very like locked in. It's not always the case, right? But I would rather, like, I completely understand the use for it and how it helps people. The way I work is just a little, I'm like, don't tell me how to play my character. Don't tell me what my character's relationships have to be. Don't tell me. That's my job, and that's part of my fun and joy. You have to have this with this many people. No, I don't. I might have something else with that many people, but if that doesn't work for my character, like I was just telling Candace before, one of my characters, the starter kit said like, you have a memento from a past heist. And I'm like, she hasn't done a heist yet. So she's got this instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I feel
Absolutely
like a lot of times
wrong.
the stuff, like a lot of times that kind of thing happens and is there for people who need it. Right.
Yeah.
And there are people who need it. And there's nothing wrong with needing it. Right. If you are somebody who like finds your character as you play, sometimes character creation is when you find that character. Right. Like I've absolutely built characters on vibes. Right.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I don't care what I'm doing. I'm just going to click, 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 click. Right. Like sometimes I've picked a character because I'm like, you know what? I'd really like to try this mechanic. Right? Like, especially like Savage Worlds. I've never played a character that's a Doubting Thomas in a horror game. That might be pretty fucking fun. Or like, you know what? Next time I play Savage Worlds, I want to be bloodthirsty. I don't know who they're going to be, but whoever they are, they're going to be bloodthirsty. Are they a rabbit? Are they a baby? I don't know, but they're going to be thirsty for the taste of blood. Like sometimes that's how you kind of go about it. Never feel like you have to stick to the rules like it's your Bible. But I will say this. I have had a lovely time doing the character, the randomizer. I have had a good time doing that.
Yeah.
Or using like the questions, like for example, in Girl by Moonlight, right? Or in not Thirsty Sword Lesbians. It's a different system. Monster of the Week. Both of those systems offer like, hey, give this to someone or have somebody that you've done this with or whatever. Sometimes that's fun because like, especially if you're a one shot, if you're playing a one shot, right?
You've got very little time to tangle everything up.
But what I really like though, is that especially if you are a beginner or you have beginners that you're playing with and you don't want to like go too deep, right? Like Kay and I will come in with like a backstory where like our characters have known each other for like 15 years and we're super close friends. And I'm never surprised by anything that they say. And we used to date and we both know each other, but we kind of hate each other, but also we kind of still love each other. Like, that's not for everyone, right? Not everybody has that. Like sometimes I'm like, I've never met this person before. What do we have in common, guy who I know nothing about and am not friends with in any way, but hopefully we'll be friends with at the end of this time, right? Like,
and also it's terrible when you go in with someone who you don't really know well, and you're like, we've got a 15-year character backstory. This is great, and you get in game and you're like, oh, we have no chemistry.
That's rough.
Mr. Live Producer, welcome in, by the way. Says it also depends on how people work / roleplay together in the game. Finding your character is so important. Absolutely. And like one of my friends plays a character who's pretty she likes to have a good time with members of the opposite sex as frequently as she can, right? And she's nice about it, and we all love this character. And then they were telling me like, I think she's been with one woman. And at some point, the GM is going to bring in a character, and I'm going to be like, that's her. That's the one. And then we had a character death, and another player was bringing in a new character. And they're like, wait a minute. What if it's her? What if she's the one? And I'm like, this is great, because now they're coming in, and they've known each other, but they've also got that cool little spicy history of like, we started, no one had a good time. We kind of realized partway through this is going to work, but we're still friends.
Yeah. Exceptional.
Right.
Exceptional.
Those are so much fun. And of course, that also required these people to know and trust each other, because I don't want to have said I chowed down on the no-no parts of someone else's character when I don't know that person.
Are you
the
cool
player
with it,
behind it? Yeah, like
answer now that everybody is here and all of us are looking at you.
Yeah,
are you cool with it?
Now that we're live and everyone is looking, right? Yes.
Fuck that. I've had that before. It's rough.
Another one.
Don't do that. That's another one. Don't get consent as soon as possible. Slide into DMs. Don't be worried. People would rather you ask.
Off screen.
Off screen. Just be
off
like.
Screen. I like having backstory to work with. My partner likes to just figure out for small things. Yes, and that's exactly. In fact, I have more than once had people ask me to do a tarot card pull, a 3-card spread, because they're making a new character. And they're like, I'm having a hard time figuring out I've got the basic. I know the class. I know kind of the personality, but like I'm having trouble getting the details that are going to get me. And so I do a 3-card pull and it's past, present, future, right? This is their past. This is the thing they're currently grappling with. And this is the thing their future is the thing they actually want, right? The thing that's actually important. And the number of people it's just been like, that's it. I've got it. We're good. Thank you. Sometimes that's all someone needs is that one little click. So yeah, I generally don't use random character connections personally because I'm a little bit more like, I'm a little curated. I'm a little snobby. But there's no snobbiness against someone else going, I kind of need this to figure out my character, because that's great. And it's a great shortcut if you don't have the character fully fleshed out in your head.
Yeah. You know what? Can I shout out a friend of the channel?
Please.
Okay. So especially if you are a beginner, he has some good tips for non-beginners as well, but his channel kind of focuses on beginners with a kind of a lean into improv as a ground level. Matt Stew. Matt is awesome. I love Matt. Matt has been on the channel twice before. If you watched our first Pride episode that was DM'd by Eugenio, Matt was at that table. And then if you watched The Ghost of Greymog, which has the DM Adam Sowards, he was also in that with both times with me and Kay. It was awesome. Fantastic player. If you go on YouTube, Bob, oh my God. Ugh. That is going to segue me into something else. If you are looking for tips and things like that, just like little short form content, check them out at Improv and RPG, both on YouTube and I think maybe on like Lemonade or Reels. I'm not really sure. I watch his videos on YouTube, but his tips are really good. I really enjoy listening to him. He's a very friendly player. He's a very collaborative player, and he has really nice tips on stuff like that. But when you think about improv, right? Improv is something that's really great to learn. If you're ever wondering how to just plus yourself up a little bit at the table, learning how to do like very basic, simple improv games and seeing if you have friends or like pop in a server of people that you trust that you run with. See if anybody is into it, because more often than not, you're going to find at least one improv dork in your dorky dork server, right? Like, let's be real. Sometimes it's me. But you will find someone, right? You will find someone that will be like, yeah, I want to do improv games.
Matt, and that's the thing. Matt, when you're playing with an improver, because they just take the stuff you do. And when we did the Pride game and I had Brandon throw out the like, yeah, I've tried to spread my seed because I had a bag of beans. I had a bunch of seeds. And Matt just took it and ran with that he kept coming up with new stuff. And I'm just like, you genius. No one is appreciating this as much as they should. This is brilliant.
Yeah, outstanding. Like, I love when someone can keep pulling that thread because it helps to create those character bonds, right? Like in Ghost of Greymog, Matt's character was Bob. He's a skeleton, and he doesn't know what happened to him, and he doesn't know why he's a skeleton. He's just there. The theme of Ghost of Greymog is the overarching umbrella title is Unlikely Heroes, and it's a show where everybody is like some weird thing that shouldn't be a hero, but we are. Like I'm a giant like stone fucking statue of a lady who is a bard. Kay is a creepy fucking leopard gecko who licks its eyeballs all the time. It's great. It's wonderful. All the episodes are on YouTube if you want to check them out. But Bob,
there's only 4.
Matt's character. Yeah, it's nice and easy to consume. Bob, Matt's character, what he does is he goes in as support and then looks for moments to lead, right? Some players, you might be the player that like you're figuring out puzzles. That's really your power spot is like paying attention, rolling a ton of perception checks and shit, right?
Haas.
You that might be your vibe, and that's cool. We need players like that too. But going in and being like, you know what? Let's see what happens. I'm gonna support. I'm gonna be here to uplift people, right? That's what Matt did. The way that Matt made inter-party connections wasn't with like the generator or anything like that. It was literally in the moment. My character did something silly, and he was like, "That's very valid, and I agree with you," and like just plussed up what I said, and I was like, well, we're friends now, obviously, because you get it, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy to just like run with players like that. So try to be a player that sets people up. That's a really awesome tip. And gosh, Matt's so good at it.
Setting people up. And it can also be like, yes, that sort of, I had so much fun with like being like, oh, you're a giant statue and I'm a tiny kobold. I'm gonna like crawl and just like be a backpack, just like that brings me joy to be able to do those silly things. But also, like, if you are table aware, because sometimes it is a little bit difficult to remember to be table aware. Sometimes it's a little bit, you
just
can
get
get
so
lost in the
excited.
sauce. Well, and
Yeah.
like I just had a session where I probably talked for about an hour straight because it was my job as like the head of this organization to recap the last 3 months of events to an NPC so he could judge us. And it felt terrible. Like, it felt really bad to just be like, I'm doing so much talking. And I was very aware, which meant when it was time for other people to do stuff, I was shutting up, even though my character probably would have talked more. It's like, no. Let other people do stuff, because even though I didn't want that spotlight, I had it. If you're a player and you start to notice that, oh, so-and-so hasn't said a lot, or, that one character I have in the home game, that one player in the home game who doesn't talk a whole lot, I will specifically have my character be like, oh, I have an opinion about this. What do you think, so-and-so? And pulling now, let's be clear, not everyone, especially in home games, not everyone likes this. Most of us who are on stream are like, I'm a former theater kid. Give me the spotlight. Thank you for making
me in.
But even then, like, thank you for making space for me. There means a lot, right? But also in those home games, double check, like, hey, so-and-so, really, would you be okay if I, like, I'm really interested in what your character thinks, and my character's really curious about yours. Does that make you uncomfortable? Can I do that? Because the number of times I've just gone, what do you think, so-and-so? And I've seen the person go,
Yeah. What I like about that tip is that it has, again, like it's like dual information. Not only are you checking in with that player ahead of time, but it also sets you up to give a fucking kick-ass compliment to your co-player, right? Which sometimes is how you make bonds outside of the table, right? You guys might not be best friends after you leave, but the next time you sit down, they're going to volley back to you because they're going to have that ease, right? You've broken that ice. It's not going to work with every player. Some players are just there to fucking murder hobo and go home. And that's, that's valid, I guess.
Valid play style.
You know what I mean? But like, if you have someone that really does want to engage with you, or you are someone who wants to engage with others, try not to be afraid of that either, right? Like, if you want to engage and everybody's kind of clammed up at the table, sometimes you passing the ball is what makes other people come alive. I think that's awesome advice to like have that table etiquette and try to be aware when you're speaking for a long time. That happened to me recently in a session where like we were late starting because somebody had an emergency, and I had solved a puzzle and another player hadn't figured out how to solve the puzzle and was frustrated about it. And then in addition to that, barely got to talk all session because myself and another player were the first people that went on the heist, right? We were the first people we were playing Triangle Agency. So we were the first people to investigate the anomaly because we had a table of 5 players. So it was like everybody had to take their turn. And I felt so bad. I like shut up for the entire second half of the episode. I was just like, nope, you call me in when you want me and I'll be there. Right. I can't, I get very nervous about taking up too much space at tables. And I think that, being too cautious can make you a worrywart, and that's not fun, but the right amount of walking is line walking. Yeah. Yeah. And you want to still have your presence because you are part of a team. Right. If you're silent the entire time, you might actually have really good information, which kind of brings me to another one, right? If you are the person who chose to play an edgelord, if you are the person who has chosen to play a himbo, if that's you, not anyone in particular, but if that's you, something that I've noticed certain purple-haired individuals do that really fucking helps people out is that instead of just being like, I'm going to break this game by above table telling you that I know the answer. I know the answer. I can't say it, of course, because I'm obviously like a little himbo baby, but also I know the answer. No. What Kay does is Kay in character as either said edgelord or said himbo will do an oversimplification of what they're noticing and just leave it there in the road. And some other player is going to see that and go, oh shit, my player actually is smart. Can I roll Arcana to figure out this thing that I now suspect because Brandon made a really stupid joke about how these runes are fucking stanky beats in a song that he heard one time on the radio or whatever wild shit Kay has come up with that day, right? Like, be the player that gives the assist, especially if you have one of those characters that A is probably going to rebut a lot, right? Like both of those archetypes are interjectors. So you really have to balance how much you're doing that and when you interrupt people. You really have to be gifted with feeling the flow of the game. And it also allows you to above table and at table assist with that, right? You don't always have to have the answer. If I'm playing a stupid character and I figured out the puzzle, I have to figure out how I figured out the puzzle. So like even in this game that I did, I was playing the barista. If you're familiar with Triangle Agency, which if you're not, I highly suggest y'all play it. It's really interesting. It's a D4 6 D4 system, and threes are how you measure your successes. And so in that game, you have an anomaly, you have a reality, which is like who you are in like the mundane world, and then you have like a competency, what you're good at within the Triangle Agency. So my anomaly was absence, and my reality was romantic, and then my competency was barista. So like I took it literally at face value and was like a real airheaded fucking barista at like a Starbucks type place. One of the rules in this game is that you get demerits if there's like a rule that you break. You have one rule that you're not supposed to break as that archetype, and if you break it, you get a demerit, which affects you later on in the game. So I was like, okay, well, what's mine? You can't say anyone's name right. You have to get everyone's name wrong. Every time that you say someone's actual name, you get a demerit. I love it. Which is nice because you can use that to like just be an absolute fucking himbo, like just be an absolute fucking fool at the table, right? While also intimidating people, right? Like you can use I'm getting your name wrong to do a lot of things. It can be a fuck you. It can be a what's your name again? Hey, right? It can be a lot of things. But in addition to that, if you finally say someone's name right, that's a poignant moment in your scene because this whole time you haven't said their name correctly, right? So there's so much that's like imbued in that one thing. And I remember like trying to play with that. And so when I figured out what it was above table, what the secret was, the answer was like 3 letters in a row. And I was like, okay, well, I know this. Candace knows this, but my character is an idiot. How do I get my character to do this? And so she leaned over to flirt and rested her elbow on the button, and it hit all of the letters that it needed to hit because I just like put my elbow on the Z button, and then I solved the case, right? The whole thing went pew, and I got the little thing. So like you can keep those moments for yourself sometimes, or you could say, I'm tired. I need to catch some Z's, and then someone else is like Z's, and then they go and put in their Z's, right? Like either of those is wonderful, and you add so much richness to the table either way.
Yeah, that's my... So we were talking about alley-ooping. Like, Candace just alley-ooping. Like, having figured something out or having an idea and letting someone else capitalize on it is one of my favorite things to do. And one of my favorite ways to just build table friendship, allyship, companionship, help. I've lost the right word.
Community.
Yeah, like build the bonds between people because... and it also allows you to kind of fake people out. So if you've watched any of not Unlikely Heroes, Weird Wild's War, Brandon is from a completely different continent than everyone else. It's the continent that the place we're in is at war with. And Brandon spent the first 4 episodes not even knowing he's on the wrong continent. So we get a bunch of gold, and Brandon's like, there's something weird about this money. Like, this money is weird and bad. And everyone's like, oh. GM, can I check that? And GM's like, it's normal money. And then we go through a whole thing and find out someone was taking people and turning them into gold coins. Like, it was a horrible thing that was happening. And so Brandon's like, I told you the money was weird. Right? And everyone's like, wow. Like, and everyone's just like, what does this kid know? And it was such a fun misdirection from like, I used to a different currency and spent the whole time, the stars are weird. What's wrong with the stars? What's wrong with the stars are weird. You know, Ranger, so navigates by the stars, has spent forever going, the stars are weird. And one of our B's character uses constellations to cast their magic.
Oh.
Right? Like, so, like, everyone's just like, what? And finally, like, it was last episode, after the last episode, one of the players went, I don't know what's up with Brandon and the stars. I think it might be a hemisphere thing. I don't know. I can't wait to find this out because you have faked me out with these stars so many times. I don't know what this means.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, those
that.
are, it's really fun. Here's the thing. And I know it's overhyped, but I'm going to say this specifically. If you want to learn how to play a dumb or an unintelligent or an airheaded character brilliantly, it is not my favorite season, but go watch Critical Role Campaign 1 because Travis playing Grog is a masterclass in I have no brain cell and I just solved the puzzle by chugging a thing and slamming it against the wall, and where I slammed it against the wall was the button that opened the passage. You know, just doing those brilliant moments of bringing everyone in. It's a masterclass because it does take playing an unintelligent character intelligently is an art, and it's incredible when you could do it, and it again sets you up to be able to alley-oop other people. And that's one of my favorite things, is to just be able to go like, what do you think? Or, that seems like blah, 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 blah. That doesn't make it.
Oh! Eureka! Yeah, I really like that a lot. Like, just, to me, like you were saying, the bond that you make doing that at a table is, like, super duper invaluable. And I feel like a lot of times, those are the most satisfying sessions for me. Like, if I'm in a session where my character does the thing, and, like, my character helps, like, us save the day and everything, that's cool. Like, that's really nice and everything, right? That's lovely. I'm into that. But, like...
That's great, I guess.
You know, I would I really, really love being the person that no one is paying attention to, or people are like, you know what I mean, about my character? Like, they just, like...
Yeah.
They just underestimate them, right? And then just having a clincher. Just having something that you just magic out of nothing because your character's being a little fucking creep or a little weirdo or something. The game that I think I've played. Oh my God. Most recently, the game that I've played that's like, there's a cat down here and I want to get him, but he's not going to let me. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Merlin.
He's so
Well, I
cute.
would like to see you, Merlin. Please let me see your little fuzzy face.
The second that he comes around,
Gilmore.
he knows that I want him to come over here. Like, so far away from me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, so in this most recent season of 3BH's AP City of the Black Rose Herald of Shadows, my character Hecate is a really petite Shadowkai shadow sorcerer, super creepy. She's a coroner / mortician, and they have visions and stuff, and they've got their Hound of Ill Omen that, like, looks like a little ferret that, like, sits and sleeps on their shoulders all the time, that's made out of smoke. Very, very eccentric kind of character.
Hecate always pulling out the stop.
Hecate starts off in that game, right? Like, they left the police force. They left being a coroner because they didn't trust the world of Mavros, right? They didn't trust the place that they're from. And they figured that the cops might be corrupt. Of course they are. So she leaves, right? And she starts to kind of just rely on her family money, right? Like, they have a little bit of generational wealth from their parents, and they kind of live off of that and do, like, odd jobs in consultation. So in the show, they're not a fighter, right? Like, my character is working alongside Jasper's character, who is like a pugilist, right? Who's like a fucking professional fist fighter, right? Like, goes around breaking skulls all day. And then Officer Bill Wapwunkle, who's like a really sweet guy that, like, doesn't know that the police are corrupt and that he's, like, part of a really horrible system that he probably needs to leave, right? And is just kind of like, I have a new thing. It's called Snuggle. It's for security officers. And he has, like, a whole little thing of all the little, like, the acronym. It's precious. So my character is just like, I'm a scientist. Hey, I like dead stuff. And that's all they know. So the first fight that we got into, I just kept spamming Chromatic Orb because I was like, I don't think they know what to do right now. They're just like, energy? Right? Yeah. Like, they don't fucking know what to do. But by, like, the 4th episode, Hecate starts to, like, put the pieces together, and there's somebody that I fucking killed that we have been facing off against for some time. And it was like a big hero moment. Like, Jasper fucking did stupid damage in one turn. Like, he was understandably the MVP of that session, right? Like, fucking played his heart out. But, like, I got to take home, like, the other little trophy that was like, hey, you saved the day that one time and you let everybody else save the rest of the day. And that was really cool, buddy. To me, those are the most satisfying moments when you clinch that, like, I did the thing, right? Like that little background moment. And it makes those moments where you are the main character for that episode that much sweeter because you can appreciate it, right? It's not like, well, here we go again. Everybody hates me because I'm always the main character, right? No, It's today, your boy did a good thing, right? Like that feeling is so addictive. It's so wonderful.
There really is too something joyous about playing the support character.
Yeah.
And like being able to do, it was just a one shot. It was when Pathfinder 2e had just come out. I played a one shot where of course it was a bunch of pre-mades and I picked last, so I got the healer. And I'm like, this is cool. I can play healer. I can play with this. And there was a whole ritual that was going wrong and everyone was about to die. Like everyone had basically no hit points and the NPC that was keeping the spell going was about to die. And everyone's like in a panic. And I had specifically, because it's the 3-action economy. So for my last action of the last round, I had moved into the middle of everyone and no one had really noticed. I'm like, I moved here and I moved into the map and everyone's like, okay. And then everyone's freaking out because they're like, oh no, this is so bad. And I'm like, don't worry guys, I got it. And they're like, I did it. I'm like, don't worry everyone, I got it. And they're like, oh, we're gonna, I'm like, don't worry, I got it. And then because it's 3-action economy, my heal spell, I did it as a 3-action heal, which meant it was an AoE blast that healed all allies within a certain distance. And because I had moved last turn, the NPC, everyone was fine. And it was like, everyone was like, I didn't kill anything, but I was still MVP just by keeping everyone else alive, right? So if you are a tactical player, even if you're not, because that was my favorite, one of my favorite moments, was that there was a charity game where Brendan Lee Mulligan had just broken 5e. He had a Harengon, Paladin, Fighter, like just had all of these classes, and specifically designed to do a metric fuck ton of damage in one move. Like that was his entire thing. So it gets to be his turn, and he does. I don't remember how much it was a ridiculous amount of damage. And he's like, and then he falls asleep because that was everything he had, and I am now done with this character until the end of the fight. It's all you. Like I did I did my part, and that was like so great and brilliant. Well, we have
I'm so impressed. Oh my goodness, Baby Gil. What a handsome boy. Get those chin scratchings, Baby Gil. Yeah, I really admire players that are like that. The players that like know what they're doing. Like again, if I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, I know I'm supposed to do cool stuff. Like I know that's the point. I know I'm supposed to have a nice balance of area attacks and direct single attacks. And I'm supposed to probably have some healing in there somewhere or whatever if I want to be useful. Like, I know I'm supposed to do that. But also, if you're running Curvy Cryptids and you've invited me to play, I'm going to make a druid and I'm going to give her Thunderclap when she fucking does her twerking. Okay? I'm going to do that because I'm a fucking idiot.
Look, all of Oda's spells were chosen for the creepy theme.
You got to have the vibes, man.
There were some other spells that probably would have been better in that campaign, but I'm like, no. I want to be able to just put a maggot inside of someone.
Yes, you must do this. And look at what happened. So don't be afraid to also like be a player that's creative. If you're gonna make a character based off of vibes, there is nothing wrong with that. Talk to your DM. Jeremy Cobb, my DM on 3 Black Halflings. I was like, hey, so like when I first made my character, like I was actually a sub in. They actually had somebody else that was supposed to be in the podcast this season. And she got like a really cool opportunity for a job that was going to take her away from things. So they gave her a guest position and instead asked me if I wanted to join, which I was very pleased to be chosen for that. Very honored. So like I came in with very little knowledge of like what anybody else was really doing. Like I had been talking to Jeremy about like what he was planning for this, new season or whatever, because I had been on the show. but like I didn't know like what to expect. So I kind of just was like, okay, it's not like 1920s. It's sort of like Arcane vibes for Mavros for this setting. Shout out to Roll and Play Press that's producing the City of the Black Rose Mavros book. There's actually a setting book that's coming soon to Kickstarter. So if you want to support some Black creatives this month, please do that. My character is in there. Some stuff that like I've contributed is in there. All written by Jeremy, and then the two people who own Roll and Play Press. Their stuff is great. Check them out as well if you want. They have some really nice GM like kind of idea thought starter books that are really good. So anyway, I made my character based, again, like I said, off vibes. And after we had like 2 more like level ups, like we leveled up twice. And I was like, maybe I should ask someone about this. Maybe I should talk to someone. Because I'm supposed to be picking all these new spells. I don't really know. Like, I feel like I've just got a lot of trash in here. And I started noticing that like other players were kind of more organized. Like Johnny, who plays Billwop, his vibe, he's a swarm ranger. So he's got like nothing but bugs all the time, right? Like it's you pick the coolest bug shit, that's Billwop, right? He's got awesome shit. Then you've got like, you know, you've got Liv's character, and Liv's character is an arcanist. So she has like a lot of like add-on spells for the things that she can do, right? So like all of that stuff works together. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're just showing up like chromatic orb. You're showing up like plant magic because necromancy, right? Like everything was a reaction. So I was like, how can I fix this? So I went to my GM, I went to my DM, and I was like, what's wrong with this character sheet? And he was like, well, first of all, you seem to have made this character sheet based off of vibes. And I'm like, listen, that's what I do, okay? You can pry the vibes out of my fingers when I am dead and gone, okay? I need the vibes. And he was like, okay, well, if you need vibes, what about Chill Touch? Chill Touch does have the same vibes that you're already kind of rocking. What about this thing? What about that thing? You can make this turn into this other thing, right? Like, and started to work with me on it. And like, I had so many options and was able to narrow down exactly what I was looking for. Cause it was inundating. Like, and I do this professionally. Yep. Like I play Dungeons and Dragons professionally, like for money. And it is still deeply overwhelming, especially like on a day when like you're just stressed and you know that you're about to head into a long session and you forgot to fucking upgrade your character. Like, if you don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons rules and spells, you're going to be there for a minute, man. Just the feats alone, I'm like scrolling for 45 minutes, right? Like, let me click that one. You know? So don't be afraid to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and as a player too. Now, let me preface this. There is such a thing as a backseat driver, right? Don't backseat drive someone else's character, but especially if you know you're playing with someone newer, you know, you can act like, hey, do you know what I think might help? Are you cool? Can I give you knowing what other people can do in combat, right? So if you know, like, Candace plays a lot of bards, and I've played a lot of bards. I've spent so many hours playing bards. There have been times when Candace has done something, I'm like, hey, Candace, don't you have this thing? And just not, you don't want to backseat. You don't want to tell someone, no, this is how you use your turn. No, you're not being effective. You're not optimizing. But like, hey, don't you have shield as a reaction is a great way to help out other players, because especially the worst is when you've been planning your turn and you know exactly what you're going to do. And then right before it's your turn, something dramatic changes about the battle, which invalidates what you were going to do. Then it is full panic.
Bane of my existence. You want to shut me down in a game? Do that.
Yeah. So like when that person is flailing, you know, and again, there's a difference between backseat drive and being like, hey, do you have this spell? Hey, do you have that? Like that can really help a player. It can also help a GM, because then the GM isn't like, this isn't what it is, but as a GM, it sometimes feels like you're telling people how to cheat, right? Yeah. Like you don't want to do that, you know? But again, reach out, and like, if you do it and you're like, I'm not sure, you can always reach out after the game and be like, hey, I'm sorry I spoke up. I played a lot of Bart. Are you cool? Was that a bad thing? I don't have to do it again. Like, check in. Those check-ins are good. Here's another, and this is maybe a bit of an odd thing that I'm going to say. But a good way to be a favorite player at a table is to help your GM highlight one of their NPCs, especially if you know it's a favorite NPC.
Big time.
Because, look, Candace has stepped into the world of Wayheart. Probably a solid 40% of the NPCs in Wayheart are characters that I either used to play or have never gotten to play. And I'm like, you're living here as an NPC because I miss you and I never got to tell your story. But like, home game, we spent an entire episode dealing with the most miserable, grumpy NPC in the world that my character was trying so hard to impress and never could. They're never going to be friends. And my character spent the entire time going, I can fix him. Hey, roaming DM, welcome on in. My character spent the entire campaign going, I can fix him. Realized last week, no, I can't fix him. I can't. It's not going to work. And had made a comment, like, we had been going back and forth, just these two completely diametrically opposed forces that cannot see each other eye to eye. It's just not possible with their worldviews, with their experiences, etc. And so two comments were made. You know, one is this grumpy character, as we found out, has a 3-legged pet cat. Which, how dare you break my character's heart? In the same episode, you tell me this asshole character has a 3-legged cat that he adores.
Emotional warfare.
Right. Not fair.
Violence.
And so, like, you know, this guy is so grumpy and miserable that my character's comment was like, I'm glad you have something soft in your life. Because he just loved this kitty. And then through a whole series of back and forth and things not going well, like, my character just kept insisting, it doesn't have to be like this. And he's like, yes, it does. It has to be this way. No, it doesn't have to be like this. Yes, it does. It has to be this way. And so, you know, we walked away from that, and we're not going to have another big conversation anytime soon with that NPC. We're not going to rehash all that ground that we just went over. So I went to my character's partner, and we decided they're going to go buy the softest, fuzziest blanket. And they're going to send it to that NPC with a note that says it doesn't have to be this way. And we're going to surprise the GM. He's not going to know. He's going to know we're sending a package. We're going to know we got it from this other character. And not until the package arrives is he going to open it, and we're going to get to let him have that little moment of showing how this NPC reacts to things like this, to an act of kindness, and also a little bit of a fuck you out of sight. Not taking up a whole scene for back and forth and argument, role play. But if you can find those little ways to just let your GM highlight NPCs or elements of their world, it's really a treat for a GM.
It really is. Like, I'm going to give another shout out, but this time it's for somebody in the chat. At House of Dreams, Okami was at my pride table of Thirsty Sword Lesbians over on Apochromatic Unlimited, which, if you haven't heard of Apochromatic, shout out to them. Check out Apochromatic Unlimited this month. Transplaner is sponsoring their Black History Month celebration. They have games like almost every day. House of Dreams is actually part of that. House of Dreams is about to be putting out some really fire content in 2025. So if you are interested in really like beautiful and diverse queer stories, especially using Thirsty Sword Lesbians, if you like magical girls and magical academia and stuff like that, definitely check out the Rose Court coming soon.
I cannot give them a shout out because my hands are filled with Gilmore, but it will be
coming. When I first met Hector, it was actually the very first time we ever played together. I came to a table where everybody was new. Oddly enough, also the first time I ever played with Matt, Improv and RPG.
Amazing.
So yeah, really, really great. Honestly, another friend of the channel, Mark J. Mark J is the chair of the Black History Month celebration on Apochromatic, was also at this table.
Oh, wow.
And those players, I made so many NPCs, y'all. Like, I went hard and I went deep in the paint. Like, every single location had at least 2 NPCs both of which were at least slightly attractive to somebody. And I was like, man, I hope everybody like wants to deal with my bullshit. Like, I hope everybody is like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Because that's going to make me feel good. And it's probably going to cut down in the amount of time that I have to tell this story. But that's okay, because we're going to flirt a bunch, and that's what you're supposed to do in this game. And I was very excited. And I had run TSL twice before, where I had a very mixed bag. Table 1, there was one player who was hell-bent on figuring out the fucking plot, and everybody else was kind of just splashing around, right? They're having a good time, flirting with one or two NPCs here or there, but one person was like, I'm on the mission. And I was like, you, right? But like the second table, I had a bunch of hot NPCs and there was a mission and people were like really into that. And that was probably the better of the two sessions. So I come in not knowing what to expect, right? Arcane Goth was my fourth player, Max. And like, I'm there and I introduce the 3 NPCs that are at their home base, right? Because the concept was they are a queer club that has a bookstore upstairs and they're fighting gentrification and getting shut down. We got to save Pride, you guys, right? There's a rival club across the street kind of thing.
I'm going to interrupt you to make you blush because House of Dreams says, I fell in love with your storytelling that day.
No! How dare you! Don't you do it! Reverse, Uno, reverse!
We were just saying, my group, my home game just said to me, like, no, you know we really like you. No, like, we really like you. And I'm like, stop, don't, no, that's
Leave
not.
me!
No,
Leave
no.
me here to die! Thank you. I love your storytelling as well. It was one of those moments where you just go, oh, okay, so I need to tell stories with these people all over again. Like, these are people you're working with now. Like, you can't get rid of me, unfortunately for you. So like in that session, I want to say like within the first 5 minutes, I was like 3 different NPCs. People were going back and forth. It was like a ping pong table, but I had like 6 arms. It was awesome. It was so good. I was so fucking engaged. Like the flirting was next level. Everybody was like immediately their fucking character, like immediately in character, because like the NPCs were able to give them a ground at which to start from, right? It's easy to be your character and be in character when an NPC is asking you something. I need a new pixel chat link. It's easier to get that done when you have like a basis for it. I'm gonna wait.
It is so difficult to do this with Jareth in my arm, with Gilmore in my arms. Come on. It won't let me kick you.
Baby Gil.
Well, we'll try to do an invite anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Come on. I can do. Oh gods, I now have to. Okay, Control V. See if that behaves.
Yes, it should.
The things we do
did.
For our cats.
I mean, Momo fell asleep on my hand the other day, and I was like, I'm never moving again.
Yep, you're boned. There's no.
Like, I'm willing to take this to my grave. I don't care. If I perish, I perish. Yeah. So in that session, everybody was immediately fucking enamored with my NPCs, and like, gee willikers, I gotta tell you, like that is some powerful magic. When somebody like picks up what you're putting down and says the right things, like Okami especially. Like I had one character, Cherry Kolya, who is like a little Russian trans lady who has a beautiful like lush beard and like a fantastic fucking figure, and she wears like this Jessica Rabbit dress.
We
she
met,
has this like thick Russian accent.
Yes.
In Flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Yes. I love her. I love her.
Figure your life out.
She's wonderful. Like I love her so much, and like she's kind of mean. Like she's kind of shitty. Like you have to like know how to talk to her. And Hector as the Beast, who was like a leather daddy, like rolled up on her and was like, "What's up?" And she was like immediately hit the nail on the head. It was so good. Like that kind of gameplay is everything, right? Players that are like interested in throwing the spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, oh, it's intoxicating. It's honestly the best part of the job. Yeah. And it's so much easier for me to improv in a scene when people are engaged, because it just starts coming to me, right? My improv brain turns on and I'm just like, okay, you want to play ball? I'll toss you the ball. Now we're outside your house. We both got mitts. There you go, pal. Yep. Right? Like, such a good feeling.
And on that same kind of note, don't be afraid to like reach out to other players, right? Especially if you see another player who seems to be super engaged, right? Because one of my favorite things, y'all, look, I'm a nerd, Okay. I don't think anyone who hangs out anywhere near this channel does not consider themselves a nerd. So I recognize, exactly what I'm saying here. But I come from the era before AO3, right? I come from the live. I'm sorry, I have Gilmore's hair all over my nose because he put his rump in my face, and so
Yeah, he gave you a large dose of love.
Yes, it's just there's Gilmore hair tickling every part of my face right now. But like, if you find another player who's super engaged, I said this before, like, reach out and be like, hey, this happened in one of my games. I was like, hey, my character had a monumental moment in their childhood where someone told them this, and that's kind of how they've structured their life ever since. And one of the other players went, that actually sounds like something that one of my old characters in this same setting would have said. And so then we go to the GM and we're like, does this timeline work out? And the GM's like, no, it wouldn't. Okay, no, wait, let me think of the timeline. Yeah, okay, so that, no, but it wouldn't work because he's too, okay, no, because your character, no, so that works out. Okay, but luck can only be luck so many times. Roll a d20, you need and someone else goes, it's a 3. And he's like, you needed a 5 or under. Yeah, they know each other. They trained each other. That's exactly what it is. Hey, Tales from the Table, welcome on in. Good to see you. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, folks. We're probably going to be wrapping up soon. We were talking about tips on how to be like a great player. And if you find another player who is as nerdy as you and who is vibes in the same, don't be afraid to start talking theoretically.
Oh yeah.
Like, what would our characters do if? What is the coffee shop AU from this? Because quite literally, and my GM doesn't know this yet, I have a romance line that's going to happen simply because we went and started spinning a theoretical. And then, so the other players kind of got to know this character and, what this character is in their mind and what they would be if they're not projecting the front they are. And then we had a scene in game which their character went, oh no, they're hot. And so this is happening now, a thing neither of us really planned, but we went, oh, it would be ridiculous. Like, how would this even work? That would be terrible. It wouldn't work. Oh no, now it's working.
What did we do? What have we done?
Yep. Our GM's going to be pissed, and that's great because we want to hurt him as much as he hurts us.
Good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do enjoy upsetting my GMs and my DMs. That is a good time.
Yeah, my friends and I used to have in-character live journals for our LARP and TTRPG characters.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That sounds powerful.
Yes.
I was not playing TTRPGs when I had my live journal, but now I wish I were. That I had.
I have, again, my character who has a tie to a character from an old campaign. We have written out the letters that they wrote back and forth because they only knew each other for like a month, but they stayed in touch. So we've written the letters of what these characters are back and forth and like what they, and it's so good.
So I'm in a show called Castleton, and it's a huge thing. If you haven't heard of it, there's over 150 players. It's like
Bananas.
It's like Battle Royale, Hunger Games meets Bridgerton, Good Society-ish stuff, but it's D&D. Like, it's wild. It's bananas. And I play a character that's actually on the margins, right? She is Lady Amaya is the demigod of wings, the child of the god of creatures and creation, and is the very first demigod ever made in this world, right? In this world that AJ Winter's Tale has made up. And it's been wonderful playing this character. Like, it's lovely because I get to pop in. I have a little thing over here with that person. I have a little thing over here. I have some warlocks that I'm the patron of, and I give them little treats, and then I leave, right? And I don't have to be like there for 18 hours because like I have a really serious storyline because I have a bunch of other stuff to do, and sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. So it's been really, really lovely. But I bring up Castleton because like when you're in a situation where like you need to like stick within a concept or a framework, like there are so many players in that game that it is almost impossible for you to bring something new to the table when you show up that day. Like you need to tell like in that game, you need to tell the DM, AJ, what you want to do, and then she will schedule you so you can do that thing today in this game. And if you can do that other thing you want to do in this game, she'll make sure that person is in there too, right? So you can knock out different scenes with people, but you don't have to do that. One of the mechanics of that game, because of the time period and the setting, is to write letters, right? And obviously in Bridgerton, people write declarations and things like that, and will you go out with me kind of letters and stuff. So it's very indicative of that theme, but the power of writing a letter or a note to someone in game is monumental, and not just for romantic issues, right? Not even for romantic purposes. I wrote a very romantic letter. I knew that the person that I was flirting with, he's the demigod of discipline. So he's like super by the book. He reads very kind of like in the moment, like his default setting is arrow ace. Yeah. Well, no, that's still the energy though. Very much a dom kind of energy, very dom forward, right? But like is also arrow ace because he was made to provide discipline. And if you're being romantic and you're in a relationship, then you're a little bit compromised, right? You can't be as neutral. So I wrote his character a letter that was very, very precisely worded, right? My character was like, I'm pretty sure that you're not into this, but there's a matching season going on. And I've been alone for a long time. You've been alone for a long time. We're very dear friends. And my cousin, right, who's played by Omega, Critical Bard, my cousin has convinced me, my cousin, the Duchess, convinced me that you might have feelings for me. The Duchess is the sister that rules over the demigod kingdom. And I was like, if you're not interested in me, don't worry about it. I love and cherish being your friend. If you are, here's a little bit of romance. And then I like closed it with something like sexy, right? And then I described what the letter smelled like, what kind of paper it was written on, what my handwriting looked like, right? I got very descriptive. The whole thing took me maybe like an hour and a half to prepare, but like there was a lasting like reaction there, not just from the player that the letter was to, but to the other people at the table and the DM. Everybody was like, right? People were like losing their shit. And like, that character that player wanted to stay true to who his character was. He's like, I want to take time to think about what Amaya is saying, because obviously this is a game about what happens when the gods are confusing. So we are in flux on that issue. But if I turn out to really be arrow ace and kind of on the autism spectrum as a character, is that going to hurt your feelings? And I was like, no, Amaya expects that. Like, that's why I wrote the first half of my letter as platonic, because she was like, I'm pretty sure you're not, this isn't your vibe. And that's cool. Like, I'm not judging you. I love being your pal, right? Like, so like we were able to not just have like a really open dialogue about consent, not just have a really open dialogue about what our characters were going to do, like not just only talk about what it looks like when somebody who might be arrow ace considers that for the first time and is like, maybe for this person, they understand me, they know what they're getting into. Maybe it could work and I would like a companion, right? Like, what does it look like when you're pondering and weighing those options versus your true nature and how you feel you need to show up in the world, right? Like, that added a whole layer of depth to this other person's character with one letter, right? And a whole new depth of my character and how my character does things with one letter. So, like, if you can write a letter or a note or something that is read in game, if there is like a little piece that you can add to the session that just peppers your character in and includes another character or includes more than one character, even if it's like a piece of something that you can plant, you know that you're going to not be home and people are going to come to your house. So you leave a note on your refrigerator for people to find, right? Little things like that. Not just the GM can do that. You are empowered as the player to also do that. Ask your GM first, obviously, just to make sure it's good. I'm going to tell you, like, I'd say, again, 99.9% of the time, you're going to get a DM that's going to go, and love it, you know? So you really can't go wrong. If they say, oh, you know what, no, or, oh, I don't know how to work it in or whatever, that's also fair, right? But you've still done that work for yourself, which is just going to deepen your relationship with your character in game.
Yeah. And like one of the characters I'm playing has a dog tag type thing that has a name different than what they're going by.
Oh man, that's
right?
good.
And
has anyone noticed?
Well, I'm like, it's on their person, right? And I went through with the GM about what all is going to be on it because it had to be various things.
Yeah.
And then we agreed, sir. We agreed. We're like, okay, cool. Like, this is what's on this person. And then I'm like, by the way, GM, I mean, I'm not going to promise I'm not going to pull it out at the right time, but I also give you full narrative freedom to have it fall off of my person at some point.
So you handed that DM a loaded gun, is what you're saying.
Well, and then like in this is in season 3, so I could talk about it. But in Emergency Power Podcast, we were all asleep in a room, and Soul had to go talk to an NPC from their past. And I got up and did my stealth check and rolled exceptionally well, which I normally don't roll exceptionally well with Soul, and everyone else rolled poorly. And I'm like, oh no, because I didn't
This is the big moment.
Well, it was going to be revelation about my character through this NPC, right? Someone that they could talk to, that they wouldn't, things they will say to this person they wouldn't say to the rest of the group. And I'm like, and I straight up, like when the roll went really badly for everyone else, I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I really did, like, A, from a storytelling point of view, like, but B, I also didn't want to have to rehash it with the group later. I didn't, yes, Chekhov's gun, yes. I didn't want to have to, like, so this is da-da-da-da-da, and then to the group later, okay, so this is, like, this was a great moment to do all that at once. And so I'm like, I straight up said, I want people to overhear this, at least one person. And the GM's like, I got you. And so there was a long running joke that Soul, it's a Starfighter game, it's set in the future, but I've leaned into what's happening now, and Soul is not like technology literate, right? Like grew up with an iPad, can't really work stuff very well. And so before I went in, like they checked their phone, their data pad one last time, and the GM's like, you all, and then they go in and they kick the door shut. The GM's like, you all are awakened by the sound of a door slamming because Soul left their communicator on. And so now everyone in the room is getting to hear it all.
Beautiful.
So,
and I love that too, because then they have to decide how they're going to deal with it rather than being put on the spot if they had rolled well and beaten you.
Yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, like and again, there's a thing happening in a game where it was explicitly stated, if your character gets this, it will kill them. This thing will kill your character. And it's like, okay, someone else has to have it. And no one wanted it. No one wanted it. And it's a case of one character should take it. It is made for this character, but that character's not in the headspace to take it. Right? And so I went to my GM and I'm like, full disclosure, my character's going to offer to take this thing. I, the player, don't want them to. This is out of character manipulation to make a character do a thing. So don't think I'm being greedy with stuff, and B, don't think I'm trying to take this away from my friend. I'm trying to set my friend up for it. And like, C, this is not where my character's mind is, because if you don't warn your GM,
they can't help you.
Be like, so yeah, like I don't want to take the thing and then have this character die. That is not the point of this. But we are officially overtime because this has been such a fun chat and conversation. And chat, you've been amazing. All of these conversations has been amazing. Candace, do you have any like closing thoughts, final little bows to put on the package?
Yeah, so something that I do, or that I did in early days, and I sometimes still do if I know I'm going to be overwhelmed. Like the very first session with 3BH, I was like, you're going to need to pull out your old tricks because this is terrifying. Honestly, every episode of 3BH, I pulled out my old tricks because it was terrifying. I highly recommend that you make a little list for yourself. Make a little cheat sheet. Not just about the rules of the game, but specifics about your character, touchstones that you might want to get into in this session. If anybody says something that's interesting, you don't have to take a bunch of notes, right? We don't have time to take notes, especially if you're a streamer and you're like in a live APE, whether it's in person or online. That is a lot of pressure, and you really have to stay on top of it because going for like 10 minutes is not anyone's picnic, right? You've got to keep the momentum. So if you are stressed about that, just take a little moment, just like someone will say, oh, this one thing, take a little moment to be like, type, and pop it down. I mean, I do that in this show so that I remember what to say because I want Kay to finish their sentence, and I know sometimes the ADHD gets me, and I'm like, what was I going to say?
The worst about.
Yeah, hold on. So if you can take like a little note, sometimes it's good to just even like put down a keyword, right? Sometimes there's a keyword that's going to make you go, aha, right? And give you that aha feeling.
The absolute
try to do
worst
that.
is when you're like, I put down a keyword. What does it mean?
Who is this? Banana.
What was I thinking? Banana. Ask Kay, what the heck?
Yeah. So like try to figure out like a little shorthand that works for you if you can, and make yourself just a little cheat sheet. You can even do it in person. Honestly, I do it on my iPhone when I'm like in like an in-person game or something like that, or if I'm in a home game. I find that if you are a professional streamer and you do a little list of all the stuff that you're up to, like all the things that you need to announce for whatever cool thing that you're on, that fucking makes things flow so much more smoothly, especially if you have a GM or like if you have a large table or a GM that, you know, is having a hard time like balancing the time, right? Maybe it took y'all a little bit longer to find something than expected, and now you're over a little bit and it's kind of a rush. Like smoothing that transition is really great. And don't be afraid to rewatch this very video and write down the little bullet points from there, right? Like sometimes I rewatch things just so I can figure out what I need to do for said things. So yeah, definitely err on the side of caution when it comes to being prepared, but also trust yourself and trust your instincts, because like you're at the table, you've gotten there, you've made the character, you've already done almost all of the work. Now all you have to do is pull it home.
And I will second that. And I know this is supposed to be a wrap up, but like I may, especially if I'm playing in higher level games, y'all, I know D&D pretty well, like at least mechanically. I know mechanically a lot of it very well. I started doing this for both Pathfinder and Starfinder because those can get very overwhelming very quickly. But even with D&D, sometimes I make a spreadsheet. I use a Google Sheet, and I make a breakdown of social combat and then attacks is usually how I do it. And I'll have it broken down on like, what is this thing called? What does it do? Because if I can't, I need a lot of times you need the whole text, and there's often a lot of text. And then if necessary, I'll do like, does it refresh on a short or long rest? And then I'll have columns on the left side that are just tick boxes, that are just check boxes in Google Sheets. So I can check off, oh, I get 3 uses of this and it resets on short rest. Or I get 2 uses of this, it resets on long rest. And I can just keep track of things that way. So that way, when I am in the moment and because I'm not gonna lie, I like being clever in combat. I really like going like, okay, here's a clever thing to do. Or, okay, GM, I know that what I'm about to ask is complete bullshit. You can say no. But I have this, and I think I can use it. I think I should be able to use it here because why? And I understand that's not rules as written, so you can say no. I love stuff like that. And I can't do that if I am scrambling across, especially if you've got homebrew things. Like, so building that cheat sheet, do whatever you need to do to make yourself confident and comfortable at the table. And it's even a little bit beyond confident and comfortable. It's just like, do what you need to do to be able to tell the kind of story you want to play, to be able to be the kind of player you want to be. And look, maybe you'll never be the best role player ever, but you can set other people up. You can keep track of things. You can be the person who remembers who's next in initiative and flags down the next person if the GM doesn't say, you know, it's so-and-so and so-and-so's on deck. Figure out your thing. We said that earlier. Figure out your thing. And again, I think the singular biggest thing you can do as a player to be a great player, to make it easier on other players, to make it easier on your GM, and to get invited back, is to make space at the table for other people. If you have main character syndrome 24/7, you're not going to get too many invites.
Even if you're big, when I pull together tables for big events, which like now I've run a few, right? I've co and joint run a few. Like I've helped plan other people's events. I've done casting for other people for VO as well now, right? Like casting is something that I now have gotten into in a serious way because I feel like I've got like good energy on picking tables.
You too.
Thank you.
Can confirm.
And right, like I feel like when I pick people for my games, it's not always about who's the biggest, man, because there's a lot of there's a solid number of big people, right? Maybe you have like 20 big people, 20 very large names that you can ask. And let's say half of them are available for the dates that you need. It's going to come down to how do these people play for me. It's not going to come down to how many followers you have. Like 5,000 followers and 10,000 followers at that level is negligible. I want people to pay so that we can donate this money to charity. And that's only going to happen if you're a team player and everybody enjoys playing with you, especially if you're a big name. Because if you are a big name, the people that are playing with you are also starstruck. It's not just the people who show up. It's not just the people that are donating, right? It's also the smaller players that I put at the table with this person. And I have to trust that they are going to not just treat those people right, but they're also going to try and elevate them. You've gotten your flowers. You get your flowers all the time, right? When I am the big person at a table, I do everything that I can to make sure that other people have time, right? Like, I'm not there for, to fucking showboat. Like, people already know who I am. I don't need to be there like, hello, do you know about me? Right? Like, no. Like, I'll chill and I'll say something cool and I'll give you one-liners and stuff. And, like, I still show up, but I make sure that I try to help other people get that time and get that spotlight because I can, right? Like, I can. So when you are, if you are somebody who is trying to put together a table, or you are on your way up, you're on the come up, and you're trying to set your sights on eventually getting noticed by larger creators in the space, being a team player, like, that is how you do it. Like, that is how you do it. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be asked back on 3BH, but when we recorded our finale,
Sure.
like, one of the most meaningful things, one of the most meaningful things that could have possibly happened to me, and I honestly didn't expect it, but, like, so Caldwell Tanner had a baby, and Jasper was traveling a lot for other, work and stuff that he was doing. So we had to have the finale. Also, Johnny is in the West End, right? These people are incredibly talented. I'm over here like, I got an open schedule for the most part, I guess. And they're like, well, I've got 16 billion things to do. I have a meeting with Zach Oyama. I'm like, all right, guys. Yeah, you tell me where to be. I'll cancel stuff. I don't know. Right? Don't ask me. Just tell me where I need to go. I was so like, right? But, like, I heard from people that, like, they felt that my character pulled the season together and, like, united everybody. And that, like, I was a really awesome, like, addition to the team because, like, all of them had played together before except for me. And, like, that was probably the most, like, fantastic, like, feedback that I could have gotten. Like, I don't need those people to tell me, you're a great star, kid, right? Like, no, dude, that's not what I need, right? Them telling me, hey, I feel like you elevated my gameplay experience. And it was easier for me to get in touch with my character through your character asking the right questions and doing the right moves and setting up the right scenes. Like, that was awesome. There's a whole episode, I think it's like episode 7. There's a whole episode where I'm in the scene just describing what my character's doing because she's mortified. Like, she's horrified and she's fucked up about what's happening in front of her, and they have nothing to say. Like, you do not hear me the entire fucking episode for the most part because I'm just like, Hecate growls, right? Like, that's all I'm doing the whole episode. Everybody else is just doing their thing, right? They're doing a shtick. And I'm there like, I don't like it. So know when it's okay for you to show up in that way, to, be the big personality and to uplift others. And know, like, when you're the little fish, that doesn't mean you're invisible. People still see you, right? I was the little fish at that table. People still saw me. And when you can make that difference for another player that is big, that's how you get asked back. Like Kay was saying, right? Doing this work and taking this kind of thing seriously is how you get asked back, right? Being a delight to play with, someone who understood the assignment. So whenever you're nervous like that, ask for feedback. Say, hey guys, can we do stars and wishes in the chat? Send yours first. Offer your feedback first, right? Hey, can I do this in the chat real quick? Do you guys mind? You guys don't have to send it. It's just something I like to do. You'll get feedback, and it's invaluable to hear firsthand, like, how you've done. Like, I wish that the person that Kay and I had a hard time with had asked what we thought, because I would have very tactfully said, I was really looking forward to playing with you.
And I would still like to play with you someday, but we just sat at the table with you.
This was not that, right? I did not play with you today, and I would like to do that, right? If that's cool with you.
Hey Candace, House of Dreams says they had taken a long break from 3BH, and you brought him back.
No! Oh my God! Thank you. I'm so glad. Thank you for listening. It means a lot. Thank you.
So yeah, if you want to be at tables, make it less about yourself and, oh, I'm such a star, and oh, look what I could do. Focus on everyone around you. Focus on even just, I know when I'm a GM and I'm stressed and I'm getting ready for an episode and I'm like, okay, like, I hope everyone has fun. I hope we get it right. I hope just having someone in the Discord or whatever you're using going like, tonight, I can't wait. do you think's gonna happen? Just a little bit of that, even if it's gifts or just a couple. I'm excited. Like, it means so much because it's like, they care. They're engaged. And it means
very special.
Means everything. So with that, we are going to wrap it up because we have gone well over. Candace, who the heck is you, and where can we find you?
Hello, I have been Candace the Magnificent. My pronouns are they, she. You can find me across Twitter and Blue Sky at the Candace Marie. Not really Twitter anymore. Who am I kidding? I just go there for casting calls. And then at at Candace the Magnificent pretty much everywhere else. Every week I say I'm going to stream. Let's not do this week. Instead, catch me over at Roll D5. Catch me over at Just the Humans channel tomorrow night at 8 o'clock for some Thirsty Sword Lesbians. We're doing a charity stream. Then the following day on Thursday, you can catch me over at Roll D5 doing some Jackbox Live for Black History Month. You can also see me on Ambrose's channel later on this month. I believe on the 27th, the 28th, I'll be over there. Also this weekend on Saturday on Apochromatic Unlimited, check out my punk panel. I was on a panel for other TTRPGers that's all about punk, which is this year's Black History Month theme. So definitely check that out. And then at the end of the month, I am running something that's unannounced on the 23rd, but that's coming soon. Wink. And then you can also see me again on either the 27th or the 28th. I'm doing something both days. One of those days is Ambrose's Magic City. We're playing Wickedness, which is awesome. I'm super looking forward to that. It's like an urban fantasy witchcraft game that's like for 3 people and GM-less. I mean, like, what? And then the opposite day is going to be Badge Quest, also on Apochromatic Unlimited. So please definitely check out that programming. Please go out there, support Black creators, support Black artists. Tell the people that are Black in your life that you care and that you plan to fight like hell for them in 2025. We really need to hear it just so we can all keep our fucking candles lit and our cups filled. So just remember to fill your own cups so that you can do that for others.
Hey, Candace, you mean a lot to me. We're going to fight like hell this 2025.
Thank you. There's no one I'd rather fight next to, honestly. You're so tough. You'll get it.
I try. I am tiny, but full of rage.
Mighty. I mean, quite mighty. I wouldn't fuck with you.
Yeah, I have been Kay. You can find me here every Tuesday doing this. Next Tuesday on the Table Talk Show, we're going to have the incredible Hannah Rose, who's going to be coming and talking about Wild Mage Press, as well as, maybe we'll get some stories out of her about working on Critical Role, working on D&D books. We've got all sorts of goodies we can get from her, and I'm very excited. And we've got a couple other guests who are about to be lined up, largely because of the efforts of the magnificent Candace right here next to me. Friday, Valentine's Day, if you are not doing anything, or if you are like, no, staying in because the world out there is scary and I would like to avoid it, or if you're like me and your Valentine is your cat, we are going to be, I am going to be over at Entropy Emporium playing Brandon. We're going to school. We're going to, we're on a boat. And we're going to the school where B's character is a student, and I don't really like conforming, but I am wearing a school uniform because it comes with a Letterman's jacket.
Oh, well, you need that.
Yeah.
That's your official outfit, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get it.
Also, the great thing is Fern, B's character, made a bow tie of disguise, and we put it on Brandon's dragon, because dragons don't exist in this world, and yet Brandon has a little tiny dragon. So Brandon just has a little cat on his shoulder that has little green scaly wings.
You got me.
We're a bunch of chuckle fucks, y'all. This is the
got
party
me.
that should not be, and it's very fun. So we're going to go find someone to raid. We're going to wrap it up here. Thank you all, as always, for hanging out with us. And please go check out Apochromatic Unlimited. Go check out Matt. We have so many links I'm going to have to remember to put in the description of this video. No, it's great. We love it. I have to remember to do that on top of everything else. So be kind to yourself. Be excellent to others. And we will see you next time.
Bye.